Hi, welcome to the market recap video for September 1st. I'm chart gal Lori. I'm part of the Chart Guys team. I'm covering for Dan today. So let's get started with ES. The bulls have to be super pleased with the bounce today. Not only did they bounce, they've made enough room for an hourly higher low on the next pullback. However, they have not made a trend change. We want to see that hourly higher low and then higher high to confirm that the temporary bottom is in. So we're going to break down what pieces came into play and most importantly, what key levels of support came into play today and provided this bottom here, a confident bottom for the bulls to start buying the dip. So there are 6 key levels, not all related to ES, but 6 key pieces of information that came into play for this bottom fish today on ES. And let's go piece by piece. First of all, the SPY dark pool level. If you are on the pregame show that I do every morning at 8:30 Eastern, I cover key components of data, whatever happened overnight, and what the roadmap for the day should or could be. So the roadmap today, I provided this level, 38995. I've been preaching about this level since June 27th. This has been a key dark pool level. $11.62 billion was transacted at 38995. That was a super important level. It was also the level of this head and shoulders that we had going on SPY. It looks a little clearer on ES, but we had that neckline break. The measured move is also in this area. So that's what I was looking for today. That dark pool level provided support. We bounced within 9 pennies of it. So whomever was the buyer at 38995, they are declaring that's a value area and we want to defend that level. All right, let's look at some more defense. Bulls defended the 0.618 support, 3902. I don't know if you can see that. Let me zoom in. 0.618, 3902. We bounced at 3903.50. So from the low, the swing low of June 13th to the swing high of August 15th, we have retraced 0.618%. And that acted as great support today for bulls to step in and buy that dip. The problem is when we have a 61 or almost 62% retrace on the next bounce, bears will be top fishing for a weekly lower high. This retrace was just a little too much, but nevertheless, it provided support today. All right, the next piece of evidence that this could be a good area to buy for support was this trend line from the low of June 17th to the wick low of July 14th. And we stopped right at that trend line. Do you see that? And we got the lower wick of bulls buying the dip. And anytime I see a long wick like that, I just visualize in my head that this is a needle. This is a probe of liquidity down to 390350. And that with that probe of liquidity, it got bought up and then it has a syringe effect. So we got that lower wick. Bulls have to be pleased. We closed with just a tiny upper wick, but overall bullish candle. It needs to be confirmed tomorrow. And like I said, the volume was good. Next piece of data that provided for a decent piece of evidence to bottom fish SPY was Apple. Clear all this off. So Apple was sitting on the daily 50 MA. So when we woke up, we were right below the 50 MA, 15649. We opened up at 15467. We were right below it. Bulls bought the dip and we got a candle close above the daily 50 MA. And we know Apple's market cap is $2.5 trillion, the largest instrument that's in SPY and the most important stock. So that was key. Another piece of information or key support was Tesla. Tesla, when we woke up, we were right below that daily 50 MA. I commented on the pregame show, Apple and Tesla, those daily 50 MAs could serve as strong supports. If we can see bulls buy that dip at that level, at that synthetic, so I call that synthetic support. Fibs, trend lines, EMAs, moving averages, they're all synthetic support. They're not an actual pivot, a higher low or a lower low, but it is a synthetic support. And bulls stepped in and bought it. And that was great evidence that, hey, this may be a good area to bottom fish SPY. This could be a temporary bottom. And then finally NQ with the golden pocket. So if we look at the swing low from June 13th to the swing high of August 15th. Let me scroll in here. We hit the golden pocket. We came within $14 of it, 12003. The golden pocket is just a 65% retrace of this large move. Now, the not so good news is that bears can top fish this on the next bounce because it increases the probability of a weekly lower high on the next bounce. But again, bulls have to be pleased with this defense. Lots of defense was played at 0.65 at the golden pocket. So those were our 6 levels or areas of support that were evidence that, hey, this may be a temporary bottom on SPY. And I was posting that in the room. ES hit the 0.618 retrace. So this is mountain time, 11:23 for me. At that level was 3902. SPY held that big dark pool level by 9 cents. Bulls are trying to turn the ship a bit, have lots of work to do overhead. Hourly lower high is still a likely scenario. So we found the bottom, and I think I posted this about 35 minutes after the bottom was found. And also another key sector today, which we knew coming in that semis were hit hard with that data that the US government was going to stop them from selling certain processors to certain countries because of their ability to promote AI and other various and sundry things. But on SMH, bull stepped in and bought that dip. Actually, let me show you on a shorter time frame. Right in here, 204, 2016. This is where we got the bottom right here at 1042. So I posted semiconductors is seeing big puts being closed out. So if you see this B here, they were being closed out below the bid. And look, it was several $1 million worth of puts were closed out. That is very bullish. And when you see that type millions of dollars of puts being covered, that typically requires them to cover their short as well in the stock, the underlying stock. So it can create buying pressure. And so, I'm sorry, what time was that? 11:16. And that low was 10:42. So I posted that about 34 minutes after the low was found in semiconductors. And I like to say that the semiconductors are the fuel to the market engine. We needed semiconductors to get its life together, and it did in a big way in order to give the market a tailwind. And it helped that MU found its bottom 1 hour before SMH did. They had data that they're going to, or a news release that they're going to build a $15 billion facility in Idaho, and that was bullish for MU, and that helped spike this little rally. All right. So regardless of, let me back up. I didn't go over ES weekly. So weekly, we were scouting a higher low. So the pregame plan was a weekly higher low is a more likely scenario. We had 4-hour oversold, and it was actually bullish divergence. We had oversold conditions on ES looking for a weekly higher low. Now, a weekly higher low is not guaranteed when you're not in an uptrend. We are not in an uptrend. This is not confirmed. We have not established the higher low, higher high. However, with this amount of real estate to put a low in, it's still the more likely scenario. So that was another reason we were scouting a higher low today and looking for a bottom. We wanted to push down at open. That's what we were hoping for in the pregame show. And we got our dreams. Our dreams came true. Another factor that was a headwind for the market this morning, in addition to the dollar and semis, was US 10-year. US 10-year has had major pep in its step. At 8 a.m., it hit 3295, and that was right around, was that the low of day? Not quite. Well, kind of was, yeah. The US 10-year, it really impacts technology companies when the US 10-year has this much bullish momentum. But I will say I was impressed with the market bulls. Despite US 10-year, it only went sideways. It did not move down. And bulls were still able to push up the market. So I would say that is a great sign for market bulls. And also the dollar. The dollar was shockingly strong. See, it went sideways. It didn't pull down. And equities were still able to move up. That was quite impressive. And then let's look at the VIX. This morning we were watching this 4-hour EQ. Now we have a triple top of sorts. See, quadruple top here on the VIX 4-hour. So on the daily, VIX bulls have enough room for a higher low. Here's the problem. The weekly. Odds favor a weekly lower high for VIX. Now, where it will be put in, we don't know, but it matches up real nicely with ES looking for the weekly higher low, while VIX is looking for the weekly lower high. So this 4-hour EQ, we pulled back toward the end of the day. We hit 25.25. I wouldn't say that's a break of support at 25.31. That's negligible. 25.13 will be key overnight and tomorrow. So VIX is losing a little steam. It was up quite nicely this morning and it gave it all back. And then the market was able to finish green. All right, we went over semis, XBI. I have my notes off screen, by the way, and TCG members, I'll copy these notes and I'll put them in the room when I'm done with this video so you can read them later if you so desire. XBI. We have a ton of traders in TCG that trade XBI. LABU, LABD, the 3 times leverage instrument just provides a lot of volatility. Well, XBI underlying provides a lot of volatility, and then the leverage instruments provide great risk reward. High risk, but high reward. So we bounced from this daily double bottom at 82.07 and 81.97. Just a beautiful bounce straight into an hourly higher high, 4-hour higher high. We had evidence pre-market that XBI could have relative strength through. We have China shutdowns. China shut down a city that has a population of approximately 20 million people. So due to COVID. So I'm not saying that the vaccines over there, I don't know a lot about Asia and the COVID situation. I'm not claiming to be an expert. However, there are medicines outside the vaccine that COVID problems would necessitate the higher utilization of. So that was a bullish tailwind for XBI. What was also a bullish tailwind for XBI was blue. Blue was beautiful. I'm sorry, I just made that joke. I'm already embarrassed. I apologize. So it was up 12% today. Big day. They had some type of clinical research news or FDA news. So they had a wonderful day. This is a small biotech company. We had FMTX. They had news of a buyout this morning, up 50%. When you see those buyouts or those big studies come out with large moves, look for it to really help and be a tailwind for XBI, a bullish one at that. So we have, I didn't go over the metals and commodities. Let's go over gold. All right, gold is decimated. The dollar is just tearing gold apart. We are coming up on weekly and monthly support. Let's look at it on the weekly. I'm going to show you the 1670 level. Look how many times we keep depleting supply down here. So if you envision blocks of supply at 1670 where someone steps in and says, that's enough, I think 1670 is a great Kmart blue light special, I'm going to step in and buy it. Their buying power will run out and they're like, okay, well, I'm going to stop buying it at 1677 if it's going to go lower, because obviously it continues to test this level. So they depleted that block of supply. They depleted that block, that block. And then after a while, you're going to have none left. And then that's when you have those breakthroughs. And I would say that gold is very close to having a breakdown past 1678 with this bear momentum. Look at those EMAs just pushing down price. Really weak. The dollar is a super headwind for commodities. Take a shot every time I say headwind or tailwind. Just kidding. Oil. Oil got decimated. And that's partly due to the China shutdowns as well. 20 million people are locked in their apartments. They're not on the road. They're not, and they have a huge population. And I'm just talking about one town. I'm not talking about the other towns that are also locked down. So that is a bearish, that has bearish, I'm trying to use another word besides a headwind. It's bearish for oil, basically, because you're not using as much. And then the weekly bear flag, also the dollar is a headwind and the China lockdown. But this is a weekly potential bear flag. We have this ugly upper wick forming. We rejected off of this daily 50 MA last week. That last week? It's just been a long week already. I think, no, that was this week. So we rejected. And we've been pulling back, and we've been pulling back hard. We're coming into support at 85.73. But look how close oil is to confirming this bear flag here. just has, the bears have complete control of this chart. We have the Baker Hughes rig count tomorrow. I can't recall the time, but it will be midday. And if you're trading oil, you'll want to know that time that it comes out. And then nat gas, hourly pop is underway. Hourly pop was underway, excuse me, for the inventory report. And then they gave a lot back. How much did they give back? Yeah, they were back at the 0.618. They just gave a ton back. They ran into the hourly 200 MA. And I was watching this 15-minute diamond bearish reversal pattern here. This is a classic pattern. And then it just kept going sideways, just sloppy price action. And I really enjoy trading commodities, but I just haven't been able to find a setup in nat gas since we've had this head and shoulders here. That's not drawn properly, but you get the picture. We can't break that 887. So I was looking bearish nat gas after this head and shoulders, but I wouldn't say that we've confirmed because that neckline has not been clearly broken through with follow through. And then finally, I think my last one is Bitcoin that I wanted to talk to you about. Yeah, Bitcoin, we have a daily double bottom, 19,513, 19,561. We've pulled back a lot on the 4-hour, but as you can see, most likely the SPY move is inspiring the Bitcoin bulls, and they're bouncing ever so slightly. However, bears will be waiting at 204.89. A 4-hour lower high is the most likely scenario. And we have hourly inside bars. We did when I make, oh no, we broke bull. So we'll see if bears defend 201.25, and now your key support overnight is 19,561. Sorry about that. 19,561 and then 19,540. All right, I think that's it. That wasn't an alarm to be done. That was an alarm to go to an appointment. So perfect timing. Thank you for joining me. If you want to give me a follow on Twitter, this is who I am, ChartGuy Lori. You can check us out at chartguys.com, and thanks for tuning in.